Hello and welcome to You Talking to Me. In about 4 weeks, British people will have the opportunity to say yes or no to the European Union. The entire union is watching the island closely, asking what will be the consequences of the British vote. That's our topic today, and we are joined by Euranet Plus journalists to discuss the topic. Olivier Henrion from RTBF.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. And Artyom Skonovs from Latvia's Radio.
Hello.
Hello to both of you. More journalists of the network will join us later. Olivier, you went to UK recently and you talked to many people there. Is this vote, is it a big topic? Is it a heated debate going on in UK?
There is a mixed feeling. Indeed, Brexit is in many discussions in the UK. It's in every newspaper. But it seems the level of motivation is not necessarily the same depending on what side you are supporting. Many people who want the UK to remain within the EU told me that they won't really be bothered voting on the 23rd of May, while British supporters are much more motivated, and these are the people that I met the more easily in every street I've been in every city I've been to.
Okay, as you said, there's those in favor, those in favor of staying, those in favor of leaving, and you brought some examples of testimonies, such as the one from Richard Billington, a businessman. He's actually in favor of a Brexit. Let's listen to him.
Now, the ordinary man in the street in Great Britain is having a hard time. Jobs are more difficult to come by. The potholes in our roads are severe. The queues in our hospitals are severe. I had a customer of mine who waited 12 hours with her child with a broken arm. 12 hours in a British hospital? That is a scandal.
But what is the link between this long wait in the hospital and the EU?
The problem is in Britain there is too much pressure. There is too many people, full stop. But there are too many people coming into Britain who are making our lives difficult.
So Richard Billington thinks that immigration is a problem. It sounds a little bit that EU could be at the origin of many problems here.
Yes, it's a very common argument. And this argument of the hospital and the fact that migration is at the heart of all the problem in the UK, I've heard it several times in different cities as well. Basically, it seems it's very common in the UK at the moment to blame the EU for everything. It's a very easy scapegoat. And in this particular case, what they target is freedom of movement, one of the pillars of the European Union. Because of the freedom of movement, all the foreign workers came to the UK, notably after the 2004 accessions of many Eastern European countries. And it has to be pointed out that the fact that the UK was the only large economy who opened widely its border to its market, and they wanted them to come. But this has created an effect. And I met an MP who was a former minister for migration who told me that that was probably the mistake of the UK itself to open its border as openly, as quickly, because it created a feeling within the population which guide such a reaction as you can hear today.
And there are actually people in need of people to come. They want people to come to work in the UK, such as Mark Bolliard. He's the chairman of the Policy and Resources Committee of the City of London. And he says that one of the big problems if UK leaves the EU would be that the country loses access to the single European market. Let's listen to him.
That's really important for financial services, for banking and insurance and fund management, where many businesses run their entire European operations from London. The second factor would be access to talent. Again, city institutions operate a European HR policy. They recruit from throughout Europe. They move people from London to Paris, to Frankfurt, to Amsterdam. We have no regard for nationality in London. That's one of its great strengths. Now, if it was not possible to employ people from the EU without going through the visa arrangements, that would be seriously damaging.
So is that a point of view you heard frequently, Olivier?
From the Brexit side, we heard that there was many emotional argument from the people who do support the fact that Britain should remain within the EU. It's more the fear argument which is played on. And basically, they use the fear that the leap in the dark will be if the British people would choose the Brexit, notably on the economic side. I don't know if you remember well, but George Osborne himself, the Chancellor, said a few weeks ago that a Brexit would be a 6% contraction of the economy, and that would cost an extra £4,300 for each British housing. And this argument is very strong in people's mind. But on the other hand, what we can say as well, and that's an argument that the argument for the Brexit forgot to mention, that Mr. Billington forgot to mention, he mentioned the British hospital. But in the British hospitals, there are also many European workers who do work there. There are Spanish doctors, Italian doctors, Portuguese nurses, Romanian doctors, and these people are taking care of British patients. But this is an argument which is not necessarily put forward.
Fear and concerns about possible negative consequences, those were also expressed in Northern Ireland, where our colleague from Croatian Radio HRT did some research. Barbara Peranic is joining us on the phone from Zagreb. Hello, Barbara.
Hello from Zagreb.
Let's listen to two men, a businessman and an economist, expressing their worries about UK leaving the EU.
I think the EU has been instrumental in restarting the economy after the period of the Troubles, but I think there's still a long way to go. And I think outside the EU, it's hard to envisage Northern Ireland doing better than it would remaining in.
We certainly wouldn't have had a sniff of the investment that we've had in infrastructure and in economic development in this border region. And I don't see a public sector cutting Tory government wanting to invest money in the south and west of Northern Ireland. That's the concern.
So, Barbara, that sounds like there is that the Northern Ireland has much to lose in case of a Brexit.
Yes, according to various polls, a majority of people in Northern Ireland are in favor of staying in the EU because they believe that the negatives of a potential Brexit outweigh the positives. So, and that region is quite different from the rest of the UK, and the issue of Brexit arguably matters more to Northern Ireland than to others. It is the only part of the United Kingdom that shares a land border with another EU member state, that being the Republic of Ireland. And this region is heavily involved in a range of cross-border cultural, economic, political initiatives. So therefore, it could be more vulnerable to new trade barriers that might arise following Brexit.
Barbara, we'll come back to you later. You brought another interesting point of view from Professor Ian Begg from European Institute at the London School of Economics, and he actually talks about the impact on other EU countries.
What's been underestimated in all this debate is what impact it has on the rest of the EU if the UK leaves, because it could fuel tensions in other countries. Eurosceptic movements are proliferating. Even Croatia, the newest member of the EU, has a growing Eurosceptic movement. I think that a British departure is going to create great difficulties for the other countries because they would then have to manage the expectations of their populations about what it means still to be in the EU.
Artyoms, what consequences do you think a Brexit could have in your country, in Eastern Europe?
I think the issue is here twofold, and the countries at the eastern part of the European Union are mostly concerned of, first, the issue, what will happen with all the people from the nationals of Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, other countries that are currently working in the EU, in the UK, I'm sorry. So there are clear arrangements right now for those people, but it is unclear what will happen with them after, if in case UK will leave the EU. So this is one issue. Many of those people who are there, they believe that if they are already there, they've been there for a few years, they've been registered, maybe they are not eligible to get the British citizenship just yet, but they will be allowed to stay. That's a general belief for those people. But it's not clear, in fact. It's not clear at this moment what will be the arrangement for the citizens of the other countries in the UK after, if in case UK will leave the EU. So this is one issue that as many people are concerned. And actually, for those people who are eligible for the British citizenship, they are currently working a lot and trying to make sure that they get the passport in case if the country decides to leave the EU, because then they will have some more certainty there. So this is one issue. On the other hand, besides all of those points, there is a point on security, because you know that the UK has always been and still is an ally to the Eastern European countries,
which is important for Latvia. Yeah.
Which is important for Latvia in terms of relationships with Russia. You know, the relationships between the UK and Russia are quite hostile, and one of the things, if we can believe the rumors from the summit, when the arrangement on the the change of the social security system that was discussed here in Brussels, the issue was that the Eastern European countries would agree to that in exchange of certain support, the military support, more troops from the UK, in more visible presence of them in Poland, in the Baltic countries, elsewhere. So there is an issue of losing a country that is sharing the same kind of a policy view on security issues is quite important as well in the Baltics. But I would say that is more important for the policy and politicians people. I don't think that is so important for the inhabitants.
Do you think it would strengthen right-wing parties in Eastern countries?
It's hard to say. I think it will. We don't really know what will be the outcome and the impact, because it's. I don't think the political divisions in the Baltics, especially in Latvia, are not the traditional divisions between social democrats and Christian democrats and other. They are more on ethnical part and on other issues. But definitely that may have some sort of an impact on, for instance, Euroscepticism in general, or on the issue of migration, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go to Italy, to Gigi Donnelly from Radio 24. Gigi, UK has not always been a model member of the European Union. It has been criticized a lot, especially when during the discussion on special treatments for UK. And some might just say, let them go if they want. If they go, just let them go. Is that the case in Italy?
Well, hello everybody. I guess yes. I just quote a quite important Italian politician in Brussels, which is Gianni Pittella, member of the Democratic Party and president of the Socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament. He said, if some members of the European Union want to integrate with common policy, they can do without the UK putting boundaries. I mean, this can, I would say, reflect very well a very widespread attitude toward the question. So I would like to add that Italy is not really following the subject. We have a lot of national referenda and important election in the next few months. So first of all, it's not really on top of the topic. And it's correct also to remember that there is some specific interest connected to the probably 300,000 Italians living in England and in London specifically. So there are some, let's say, localized, big but localized point of interest in a general landscape that is really not caring very much on the debate.
Okay, we are almost at the end, but let's continue to look at the consequences for EU countries with Euranet Plus members, with Rick Mertens from Luxembourgish Radio 100.7. The City of London cut off the European single market could be good news for others, such as the financial center in Luxembourg. Rick, is Luxembourg, that is known as a very pro-European country, is Luxembourg somehow secretly hoping for a Brexit?
Hello from Luxembourg. Well, I think some people, especially in the financial services sector, might indeed be secretly hoping for a Brexit, because they believe that the Luxembourgish financial sector could benefit if London loses the so-called passporting rights, which are necessary to offer some financial services inside the EU, and then services could move to Luxembourg. But those people are really a minority, and it's not like you would meet many people here in Luxembourg who would openly praise the benefits of a Brexit and openly hope for it. Certainly you don't find any official political or business representatives in Luxembourg who would openly praise the benefits of the UK leaving. Clearly, I would say, as in most EU countries, I think the fear of instability prevails here, which could be triggered if the UK leaves. Too much, I think, simply depends on negotiations that would take place after a vote, so after it is decided that the UK leaves. And I think most people here in Luxembourg, even in the financial sector, are aware of that. And it is quite simply difficult to say how much Luxembourg could benefit, if it benefits at all.
Thank you very much, Rick. It's very much about instability, Olivier. There are also internal consequences. For example, for Scotland, what happens if Scottish people say yes to stay and the rest of UK says no? That could have serious internal consequences as well.
That's true, because Scottish people tend to be more favourable to the EU, while the British people tend to be more undecisive. And we have to remember that United Kingdom is a free union between the UK, the England and the Scottish people. Should the British people decide to vote against, vote for Brexit, that would probably reactivate the independence feeling in Scotland, and that could mean that there would be another referendum in Scotland.
So there will be consequences of this British vote. That's what we can say for sure. British people will vote on June 23, and Europe will watch that vote. Thank you very much. Thank you, Olivier. Thank you, Artyom. Thank you all, and see you soon on You Talking to Me.